In fact, if we worked for another company and our boss spoke to us the way we speak to ourselves, we would report that person to HR and quit.
Yes.
We are our own worst bosses.
Yes.
We are unrelenting and unforgiving.
Hey, welcome to the podcast where dreams meet determination and success is just around the corner. I'm your host, Suzanne Taylor-King, and I'm here to help you unlock the full potential of your business and your life. Welcome to Unlock Your Way with STK. Let's unlock your path to success together. Good morning, everyone. Suzanne Taylor-King here with another live episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. And we're here today with a brand new friend of mine, Jonathan Troen, self-love coach. Welcome, Jonathan.
So happy to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so excited for this conversation today. In full transparency, everyone, Jonathan and I were introduced by Craig Bruce, a dear friend and collaboration partner of mine, and we've never had a conversation. And so everybody who's listening today will get to experience a brand new conversation, a little rapport building, and also the ability to learn what Jonathan does as I learn what he does. So I'm really excited for this today.
And Craig, by the way, was on our very first Self-Love Revolution Summit that we had back in, was it 2020? I think in 2020. So yeah, Craig, go back. He was on our very first summit. Beautiful soul.
Amazing. Yes, we had the chance to meet in person back in May after knowing each other in the online space. And he was just such a valued member of one of my group coaching programs and just an incredible facilitator as well.
Yeah, definitely. We love Craig.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the self-love journey and how did you get to this place of doing this work?
Yeah, well, it sounds like a short question, but it's a big one. But
a loaded question too.
But I can be shorten it. So I spent 20 years in the entertainment business. I was interviewing the biggest stars in the world. I was living the life of my dreams. You know, they say creating the life you want. So I created the life I want. I actually started a company called LA Live. I was really into music and I wanted to see free concerts and interview bands. So I started a company called LA Live to do that. And we broadcast concerts and I got backstage and I interviewed the bands and it was an amazing life. I lived 3 blocks from the beach. I could see the sunset out my window. There was only one problem. I wasn't happy. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I'm achieving my goals, right? Create the life you want, achieve your goals, work hard, all this stuff. So I had great successes, but I still wasn't happy because I still had this voice in my head that was going, well, that person's doing better than you are. You're not that good. You still suck. Remember that little kid that was beat up on the playground in junior high, right? All those stories were still there. And just a teeny side story. So I had moved from Boston to Denmark, from Denmark to LA. Then I was in the middle of LA and then I said, I got to get closer to the beach. That's why I moved here. So I moved to Santa Monica, 11 blocks from the beach. It was great for a little while, but then it was too far from the beach. So then I moved to 3rd Street and there I was, sun setting out my window. Okay. Just a little quick setup because this is where a big change happened. So there I am. I'm walking along. It's a place, if anyone knows Santa Monica, California, there's this
lovely
park overlooking the ocean. It's called Palisades Park. And I would go there almost every night and walk. And I didn't like the voices in my head. So I shut out the outside world and the inside world by listening to music on my headphones. So I'm there walking, strolling, and this song comes on that I had heard at least hundreds, if not thousands of times before. A song by Social Distortion. I had interviewed the band. We broadcast the band live. I had interviewed Mike Ness. So it's like, I mean, I'm not saying I was friends with these guys, but I knew these guys, they knew the song. And here were the words that came out. You can run. What are the exact lyrics? I might be getting this wrong now. I've told the story a lot, but it's not coming to me. You can run all you want, but not go anywhere. And I'm going, you can run all you want, but not go anywhere. I never heard those lyrics before, and I've heard the song thousands of times. And I literally stopped in my tracks, and I'm going, oh my God, to Denmark, to LA, to Santa Monica, the beach. I'm going, oh my God. Is that me? And at that time, I really thought all I need to do is get closer to the beach. I was on 3rd Street. When I have that house, I can picture it. That was on the beach. It was on the beach. It had a pool, and then there was the sand, and then you walk to the ocean. I still don't fully understand the pools by the ocean thing, but it looked cool back then. I go, when I have that house, and I'm going to get it, then I'll be happy. And I was just postponing happiness. Anyone ever do that? You go, I will be happy when?
Yeah.
So I had hundreds of I will be happy when, because I achieved, I'm not going to say achieved every goal I ever set out, but I achieved a lot of them. I interviewed my idols. I did amazing things. I achieved a lot of goals. And as soon as I achieved it, I said, okay, what's my next goal? And I'll be happy when that happens, right?
Well, you kept moving the rubber band. You kept moving the goalposts.
Exactly. And that's what we all do. We achieve something, right? We'll say, well, when I get the new car, I'll be happy. So we get a new car, and it is great. You got the new car smell. Hey, that's toxic, people. Here, and we're happy for like 2 weeks, and then it's our life. So, we need a new house. Okay, so we get the new house. None of that makes you happy.
Yeah,
it all just magnifies what's inside. And what I had inside, now it's like years later looking back, what I had inside was all these stories that were formed when I was younger about how I just was not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter what I did, who I interviewed, who I worked with, what I put out there, what I produced, what I created. There was always someone I could compare myself to that was doing something cooler, better, bigger, more money, bigger house. I was on 3rd Street. To go to the beach, which I could have my feet in the water in 10 minutes. To go to the beach, I had to walk past 2nd Street, then past Ocean, and then past the houses that were on the beach. And every time I did that, I'm going, oh, don't I suck? And it's just this comparison thing.
Yeah.
So that was, maybe it was a longer answer. I wanted to give you the shorter answer, but
no, it's so good because one, it gave me a whole insight into what you used to do, in your prior career. I was a huge Social Distortion fan, by the way.
Love it.
Yeah. So we have lots of music conversations to have about my punker and new wave days, back then.
No one believes that I was a former punk rocker, and I spent all my nights into punk rock bars.
Yeah.
Now, but if you would have told that guy, when he was 20, even 30, that he'd own a yoga studio in Austin, Texas, and he'd be espousing self-love and self-compassion, he would have laughed at you and spit in your face. Like, it was so foreign. But this is where success lies.
Yes, it's really the evolution of it, right? I have a 15-year-old son, and he found a picture of me in this photo box from my, punker, late high school, early college days, and short shaved hair with blue ends and my nose pierced. And he was like, "Who is this? Ooh, who is that?" I said, "That's me." He was like, "I don't even believe it." He just couldn't see it. And now we've had numerous conversations about who you are in high school isn't who you are when you're 50 some years old. It's so, so different if you allow yourself to evolve and grow.
You know what's really interesting, Suzanne? So there were so many messages in that music, which at least for me, I wasn't in a space to understand. So I still listen to Social Distortion.
Mhm.
And I don't remember the name of the song, but pull out the album, White Light, White Heat, White Trash. I'm sure you got it if you're a
Yeah,
fan.
I got it.
I forget which. If you listen, if you read out the song names, I'll know the title. But one of the lyrics is, um, how can you love anyone if you can't love yourself?
Oh, so
And I'm like, Mike Ness, I was singing that back in the 90s. And I'm going, I didn't, I never heard the lyric back then, even though I heard the song.
yeah.
Listened to the CD, streamed it, watched them play it live. And I never heard those lyrics. And now when I hear it, it means something totally different to me. And in other songs, there are a lot of punk songs I honestly don't relate to anymore because I don't want to blow up the world and I'm not pissed off at the world. And
Yeah.
they'll come on in my, the random, Spotify plays like, man, I love that song, but I don't love that song because I don't relate to the anger that's in it anymore. It's a really odd experience not to relate to the music that you love. But that's a whole nother story. But then there are these messages like this that go, how can you love anyone if you don't love yourself? And he's sharing about how he didn't love himself. I would like to interview Mike Ness now about some of those songs now that I understand them in a brand new way.
Yeah, because when you think about that, I'm thinking about late 80s. I had a cassette tape that was stuck in my car. So I couldn't get it out. So my choice was listen to the radio or listen to this tape. That was the only choice. And I remember every single word to every song on that cassette tape. It was Rage Against the Machine, by the way.
Mm.
And some of those songs back then really resonated with me. And the business I had at the time and what I was doing in the world. And now when I listen, 30 some years later, I still like the music, the beat, but I don't resonate with the words anymore. And it's so interesting how that happens as you grow.
It is. And I gotta be honest, Tom Morello might be one of the smartest people I've ever interviewed. He's really brilliant. I mean, he went to Harvard and studied political science there.
I didn't know that.
He's incredibly smart. And when you talk about, people, spout their opinions, like he has the knowledge. He backs it up with details. He's a truly intelligent person. And I agree with you. Like they just came on yesterday in my car and I'm like, I'm not that angry. I mean, I remember the first time I saw the band and I was in Denmark at the Roskilde Festival and there were 100,000 people, just yelling, F you, I won't do, the whole chant and it was awesome. But when you practice, here's what you guys need to know, especially if you have a lot of that anger in you, which makes sense because media is feeding you a lot of anger. Fear sells more than kindness for some reason. Fear is a virus, it spreads. Love is a virus, it spreads. For some reason, and I don't fully understand why, the virus of fear spreads faster than the virus of love and the virus of kindness. Although they are both viruses and you can spread them out. But for those that still feel some of that angst inside, when you really begin to practice these, I call them skills, and I call them skills because a skill can be practiced and you get better at it the more you practice, just like piano, basketball, whatever it is. And the more you practice these skills, the better you get at it. And it's not that you never get angry anymore. Of course, we all get angry, but it begins to dissipate greatly. and you instead of surrounding yourself, I mean, I used to surround myself with these angry people. Yeah, go, and we all bang into each other, slam dancing,
Yeah.
and the need for that anger into blame, right? Blame. Before the call, Suzanne and I were talking about the inner critics, the saboteurs, and there are the 13 saboteurs. So one of them is blame, right? And it's blaming of others, it's blaming ourselves. So the blame isn't there so much. We don't spend our whole day blaming whose fault is this. And if it's someone else's fault, we want them to feel pain. If it's our fault, we want ourselves to feel pain, which is just so weird. But it's true, right? We've all done that. Well, you screwed up and you suck and all that kind of stuff. We all have that self-talk. Your experience in life really does change. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. I can't listen to that music anymore the same way.
Yeah.
My son is like, "Why are you listening to that kirtan music?" Well, it's kind of peaceful, But then Belinda Carlisle, you grew up in the '80s, so Belinda Carlisle. She put out a kirtan record, a bunch of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. So
yeah, I love what you're saying because, there was a point, and I don't remember how old I was, but there was a point where I became aware of the inner voice. And before that, it was just, oh, that's who I am. The voice was me. The voice was me talking to me. And I don't know when it was. And I realized that what that voice was saying to me was not true. And I was like, wait a minute. Why is it lying to me? Why am I lying to? Oh, maybe it's not really me. And it was like this esoteric, meta perspective of mindset. I think I was studying mindset at the time, positive psychology. And one of my teachers at that time said something about resilience and being gritty and being able to, move past life. You're not life's challenges. And I asked that question. Well, then, if I'm not my challenges, I'm not the voice in my head either. And it really was a shaky time in my life because you're realizing that you've been BSing yourself for so long. Well, then what's really true?
Yeah. And I want to share this part because I think there's a journey that people take when they learn about the inner critic, when they learn about the saboteur. Some people call it a gremlin. There are different names for this, but it's all the same thing. The voice is in your head, the inner judge, and there are variations of the inner judge: the perfectionist, the procrastinator, the victim, the defender, the complainer. And so at first we might feel like you said, well, they're not us.
Right.
They aren't and they are. They aren't us and they are us at the same time. Because when I first learned about this, it's like, okay, how do we get rid of this?
Mm-hmm.
How do we move this voice over here so that we can focus over here? And while that does work, the problem is it works, but it works temporarily. So I'm gonna move perfectionist over there, and I'm gonna get to work, and it's gonna be okay. But at least I'll deliver something, right? Because let's not let perfect be the stop good from happening, right? But it always comes back.
Mm-hmm.
It always comes back, and it always comes back. So what we actually need to do, my truth, my opinion, just me, I don't know anything, but this is what I've discovered for me, not a doctor, not a therapist, that we need to befriend our saboteurs and inner critics. They're afraid. They have every reason to be afraid. When we go, I understand you're afraid. And it makes sense because, hey, are we living in kind of a bad stuff? I mean, there are great things about the world, and we can look at all the beautiful things happening in the world. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a little divisiveness going on right now, I would say, in here in the United States and other parts of the world. So there are messed up things going on in the world. And it makes sense. You can say, I understand that you're afraid and you're scared, and it's okay. And I'm not afraid of your emotions. I'm not afraid of the words you're saying. And if we can begin to treat these voices like they're a scared 5-year-old, now, if you saw a 5-year-old in the street, like screaming or on the playground or whatever, you wouldn't yell at them, go away, stop yelling. What would you do? You'd run to them, right? You'd pick them up and hold them and say, it's okay. I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And part of the problem is that many of us have been told our whole lives, I call this the big 3. Don't be sad, don't be angry, don't be afraid. You ever been told those things?
Yes, of
So
course.
basically, when people say that to you, they're saying, don't be human.
Don't be emotional.
But it's really don't be human. Because can you get to a single person on the planet that's never been sad, never been angry, never be afraid? These are simply human emotions. If you believe in God, hey, God created you with these emotions. So if God's not making mistakes, and if you don't believe in God, that's okay too. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when we can befriend these parts of ourselves, not make them wrong. Oh, that's the angry part of me. You're bad. Oh, that's the sad part of me. So if someone told me I'm not supposed to be sad because I should look at all my gifts. Well, yeah, but if there's sadness there, right? Has anyone ever say to you, or have you ever said to someone, there's no reason to be sad? Never say that to someone. If someone is sad, there's a reason. You may not agree with it. It may be a dumb reason. We might all agree it's a dumb reason, but there's a reason they're sad. There's a reason they're angry. When we can befriend these emotions, when we invite them in and hold them like a 5-year-old child and just say, I got you. You're okay. You're safe in my arms. Then they begin to lose their power over you.
Oh, I love that so much. I'll share that just a couple days ago, I was looking for a recipe for the holidays, and a friend wanted the recipe. So I said, I'll find it and I'll send you a picture of it. And I found the recipe on this old piece of paper, and I opened it up to take a picture, and it was in my mother's handwriting. And of course, I know that. I know that this recipe came from my mother. I know that it was in her, little file of recipes that I have. So of course I'm prepared but something hit me when I saw my mother's handwriting, and it's been more than 20 years since she passed away. And I just allowed the emotion of seeing her handwriting, remembering making recipes with her, our kitchen, the chair I used to sit in as a kid, like all the things, all the feels. And while it was sad, it was also happy memories. And my son walked up to me and he said, "What's wrong?" And it kind of snapped me out of the moment. I said, "Nothing's wrong at all. I was just remembering my mom and the recipes." And he said, "What made you remember?" And I said, "Seeing her handwriting." And he said, "That's weird. In the future, there won't be those things because of technology. Like, people don't write things down anymore." And he looked at the handwriting and he said, "She wrote recipes in cursive?" Well, yes, because everything was in cursive. And we had this little laugh about, what that's going to look like 50 years from now for him. And he said, "I don't want to think about that." And I said, "No, I want you to feel like I feel right now. I'm feeling this mix of sad, but happy memories, and you're allowed to feel sad, but you're also allowed to have a memory that is both." And it was such a beautiful conversation about allowing emotions.
I love that story. And I love how you shared that you can experience happiness and sadness at the same time.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of teachings out there um, that say you can't have two emotions at once.
Mm.
That if you're feeling a negative emotion, there are no negative emotions. They're just human emotions, and they might have a higher vibration, a lower vibration, but there's no such thing as a negative emotion. But so if you're feeling sad, just think of something joyful, and that will cover up your sadness. And I think it's a really important lesson to understand that you can have more than one emotion at the same time. You can be sad and joyous at the same time. You can even be angry and joyous at the same time. You can be angry about something, but still feel the joy, right? Your child might be driving you nuts, and you can have some anger. Try not to yell at them. Regulate your own nervous system first before you try and regulate theirs. I'll say that again if you didn't hear me. Regulate your own nervous system before you try and regulate anyone else's nervous system.
Yes.
Okay. But so you can be at least frustrated that they're not going to sleep and it's 10 o'clock at night and their bedtime was 8:30. And you can experience the joy that, hey, you have your child in your home with you, because, some people, due to wars and craziness in this world and things at the border and all this kind of stuff, some people don't have their children, don't wake up with their own children. Yeah, and I'm not talking about they're out of the house after college. I'm talking about young children. So you can be frustrated and still hold joy that, hey, we're together. They didn't clean up their room, and that's frustrating, but they're playing with toys.
Yeah. I love that you acknowledge that it is possible to feel a multitude of emotions at the same time. And I think one of the magical things about becoming more emotionally intelligent with yourself, and for me, that's part of the self-love journey. You can't love yourself until you understand your own emotions. This idea of feeling 2 or 3, or, if you ask me in the moment thinking about my mom, am I angry with her for passing away so young? Yes. Am I happy with my childhood? Yes. Am I sad she's not here today to experience, my life and my son? And yes, all of those things go into making you human.
Yeah. And this is where it gets a little woo-woo. Now, when I learned this, it was woo-woo, but now it's actually embedded in therapeutic systems. I think it's called family systems therapy, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not a therapist, but it's now you have these different parts of you, right? So you have sadness and you have anger, and because she passed away too early, and you have joyousness because, well, you did have a good childhood. Now you take these people, so to speak, they're parts of you. They're literally parts of you. So they're not you. They are you. They're parts of you. Now you put them in a room together, and you actually have them talk to each other. And sometimes when you practice this enough, you can take a step back, the you that you kind of know is you, and you just watch them talk to each other. And it's fascinating what you learn. It's fascinating when you discover what your emotions need from you. Do you know you can talk to your emotions? You can say, sadness, what do you need from me right now?
Oh, yeah.
And you will get an answer. You can say, anger, what do you need from me right now? And you will get an answer. Usually it's not an answer that resonates with your conscious belief system, because it's not what you've been taught. Don't be sad, angry, all this other stuff. But that answer that comes to you, that first one, not the one that, oh no, that's not right. Let me analyze all the teachings I've ever had from my parents, from my teachers, from the media marketers, from from all the car commercials and the alcohol commercial. Oh, I'm sad. I need to go get a drink. That's what I need to do. So forget all of that and ask what they need from you and then do
Mhm.
it. Just do this as a scientific experiment. Maybe I'm fully wrong, but just the next time you feel something you don't want to feel, or you're saying something to yourself that you don't want to say, ask yourself what's needed and do the first thing that's said, that thing you don't want to do. And maybe it's you have to do something, or maybe it's you have to call someone that you don't really want to call, or whatever it is. Just do it
Yeah.
and then see what happens. And then call me and let me know. I'm kind of easy to find, for better or
I
for worse.
I love that so much because it's so tangible. And, my work is typically with business owners, entrepreneurs. A lot of them are in the online space, and a lot of them are in that comparisonitis, and I'm asking them to put on blinders and not look at what other people are doing, not be reactive to the news and politics and religion and all of those things that can cloud who you are, what you're putting out into the world. And I think the hardest part, and you touched on this so beautifully, is actually making it emotional management more attainable. And I'm thinking back to when I was a health coach, helping people eat healthier. And one of the biggest hangups was going into the kitchen, and there are the Oreo cookies. There they are. They're sitting right there in front of you and they're talking to you. Oh, just have one. It's no big deal. Just have one. And one turns into 5 or 6. And just the act of putting them in the trash or in a cabinet you're not allowed to go into changed people's results. And I believe what you're saying is noticing the emotion. Oh, hey, this morning, I was feeling a little overwhelmed with my to-do list today. And I just said, I'll get done with what gets done. And it's all good things. There's no reason to attach a negative emotion to them. And just that simple stop of acknowledging can be life-changing for your stress levels.
You have to learn how to pause.
Yes.
You have to learn how to feel an emotion and pause. And you mentioned eating cookies. So I believe people say that we go to eat because it's something we can control.
Mm.
I'm not sure that's true. New research on addiction is showing, yes, there may be a chemical propensity, but it's not just that.
Mhm.
That we become addicted because we don't want to feel a sensation we are feeling in this moment.
Yeah.
And while, yes, we can control our eating, when we eat, because it goes into our stomach and our stomach starts digesting, it changes the feelings we're having. It actually changes the feelings the minute it goes into our mouth, right? Because the sensation of chewing, and if you meditate or if you take meditation courses, often they'll have you eat a raisin for 20 or 30 minutes, one raisin, right? Because you're studying the sensations of the raisin. First you look at it and then in your mouth. So when you eat, all the sensations in your body begin to change. You no longer need to feel what you were feeling before. Same if you have a drink, you don't need to feel what you were feeling before. If you go shopping, you don't need to feel what you were feeling before. If you watch TV, you don't need to feel what you're feeling before. The problem is that when the food wears off, when it's digested, when the alcohol wears off, when you're done shopping, when the TV show is over, whatever you're feeling comes back.
Yes.
And because you buried it, it's like burying a plant, it usually comes back bigger and stronger. So in order to stop that, we get to pause and just go, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And go, okay, I have tightness in my chest. My heart is beating and I'm feeling kind of hot now. Okay. Sadness, throat or stomach. When you really pause and study, like you're a journalist, not the current journalists which spout their opinions. I mean, like, Walter Cronkite type journalism, telling the story. When you become the observer, you're not involved in it, you're observing it.
Yeah.
It loses its control over you. And depending how deeply seated the emotion is in 30 seconds it can disappear, in 10 minutes it can disappear, maybe a few days, depending. But if you stop fighting it and welcome it, if you stop trying to change it, let me just have a drink and I can have a good weekend and I don't need to feel this anymore. And I'm not going to say alcohol's bad. I've never given up drinking. I've never stopped smoking pot, although I haven't smoked pot for probably 25 years. Never gave it up. My body just doesn't want it anymore because I actually want to feel. I actually want to feel what I'm feeling, even though part of me doesn't, because it kind of sucks sometimes. But when we can just embrace it, it doesn't have that hold over you. And then you can get the things done that you need to get done. And, can I take a moment to address the business owners and entrepreneurs out there?
Absolutely.
Most of you are a-holes. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear here.
Oh,
yeah. Now, to be clear.
Yeah, we curse.
Most of you are assholes. Not to other people. To yourselves.
Yes.
And in fact, if we worked for another company and our boss spoke to us the way we speak to ourselves, we would report that person to HR and quit.
Yes.
We are our own worst bosses.
Yes.
We are unrelenting and unforgiving. And that's why for entrepreneurs, the mental health issues that come up, the suicides or attempted suicides are twice as common as in the rest of our society. And people have different theories of this. No one says they know why. People have different theories.
I think it's because we're always comparing ourselves to other people.
Yeah, my theory is because we're assholes. We're assholes to ourselves, which includes that comparison, a whole lot of lack of self-love and self-compassion. And you have a success and you ignore it because you got the next thing to do, your to-do list. So I did.
I had this morning, Jonathan.
Yes, because that's everything that was in my head, because we're not all that different from each other, folks. We're really not. So yes, because all that was in my head. So I do know a lot of what's in your head. And that's what we do. And then when we make a mistake, what do? We beat ourselves up. I remember, I was interviewing Cher, right? A great day. You're interviewing one of the icons of the world.
Right?
And what do I do that night when I look in the mirror and review my day? I focus on, oh, you forgot to ask that question. Oh, you didn't do that. Oh, this. Like, are you kidding me? You just interviewed Cher. No one else knows what questions you thought you were going to ask, right? But we beat ourselves up. And then we go to bed like that. And then we wake up the next day and we're like, oh my God, another day. Where's my to-do list so I can just get through this? And maybe I'll be able to have a drink tonight and get rid of that. This is the treadmill we're on, folks. So you got to stop. Just put pause on the treadmill. Feel what you're feeling. Say something kind to yourself. That was my old habit. That's what I did. I brushed my teeth at night, 2 minutes. And I would sit there and I'd review my day and review everything I screwed up. Even on great days like interviewing Cher or interviewing Yahoo or interviewing Green Day, right? Interviewing all these people, and I focus on the bad stuff. Or maybe someone said no to an interview, right? I didn't get someone, right? Or you'll appreciate this. I interviewed X, one of the greatest interviews I ever did, Exene, and gave me the whole history of punk rock and all this stuff. Didn't record.
Oh, listen, I had a workshop yesterday that was so good. I'm getting all these messages. That was so great. Thank you so much. Can't wait for the notes. And I only recorded half of it because I sent everybody into breakout rooms and I didn't want to record myself sitting there waiting for them to come back. So I hit pause. And I'm so in the moment when I'm teaching a workshop that I forgot to hit start. And I said, I was beating myself up for about 2 seconds. And then I thought, oh, okay. I will just do a couple clips from the workshop. I won't share the whole recording. I will share all of my notes, and I will do this workshop again to a bigger audience. So outside of my community. And I just thought, okay, so that's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to realize I've gotten bigger. I've gotten better at this. And maybe I need to have an admin on every workshop with me to manage the screen share, manage the recording, manage the breakout rooms so that I can focus on my zone of genius instead of you're stupid.
Yeah. But how many of you watching, if you did something like that, you start beating yourself up
Yeah.
for months or years
Yeah.
at a time for this
Yeah.
little thing. So what you're leading to, yeah. So we get to pause. Now I would put in, I didn't used to, but I put in a step before what can I learn?
Okay.
And it's a really important step. And I call this the number one skill we have never been taught. And that is the skill of forgiveness.
Mm.
And there are three paths of forgiveness: forgiving others who've done you wrong, asking forgiveness from others who've done you wrong, and forgiveness of yourself. And what we're talking about is forgiveness of self. And it's one of the hardest things. And
Mhm.
when you can pause, right? When you begin to treat yourself like a friend, because if a friend did that, if a friend came to you and said, I just did this amazing thing and I didn't record it, or, I just had this meeting and I totally blew it. What would you do? You would say, hey, come on in, have a cup of tea, sit on the couch. I'll give you a hug. I got your back, right? That's what we say to friends. We say, I know what you did was hard, and maybe like
Yeah.
it is a mistake you can't recover from. That really sucks. And I got your back. So when we can forgive ourselves, when we can treat ourselves like a friend and say, hey, Jonathan,
Mhm.
you messed up. It's okay. I got your back.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about this anymore. Then at the end of the day, we can go to sleep with ease, wake
Mhm.
up with ease, and be excited about the next day and how many people can we serve? Can we help? Can we
Yeah.
inspire? Can we change their lives? This is what I say every single night before I go to bed. I shared with you what I used to do, right? I used to review my day and go over everything that went wrong. So this is what I do now. I take a few moments to celebrate all the successes. Hey, this went well. I acknowledge some mistakes. And then I say these words: I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt me or offended me, physically, emotionally, or monetarily, knowingly or unknowingly. Wish
Beautiful.
them no harm. I accept this moment as it is, and I release myself from any future pain.
Mm.
Go rewind it, play it again, write it down, put it on your mirror. It
Mhm.
releases everything that I did wrong, right? The other day, I didn't regulate myself first, and I yelled at my son. I noticed it, and then I regulated myself, and then I apologized, okay, and explained to him what I was going through.
Mhm.
Here's what happened to me. When this happened, my body tensed up. I kind of walk him through the whole thing, so to model it, and so he could really understand what was happening.
Yeah.
Uh, but then I forgave myself for it. Boom, done. It's gone. Anyone else that kind of annoyed me, your significant other that left something in the sink that you just cleaned and you're pissed off about it again. Hey, they did the best they could. They really did. They did the best they could.
Mhm.
Can you forgive them? Can you not wish them harm?
Yeah.
And when we can do that, we release ourselves from that future pain. You don't have to replay the story in your head for the next day, week,
Mm.
months, years. How many of you are beating yourself up from something that happened more than 10 years ago? Like, seriously, we all do it. I know you are, because we all do. You don't have to anymore. So, and you learn.
Yeah. Well, It's reminding me of something I heard years ago, that an emotion can only be experienced for 90 seconds. And then anything longer than that is you repeating or ruminating. And I thought, oh, so that thing I did when I was 12 that got me told and punished and yelled at and whatever, me feeling any certain way about that mistake is just me. There's no emotion left in that. And the same goes for something that happened yesterday. Me not hitting record. If I'm going to repeat the stupid emotion, I'm just repeating something in my own head. And I think that was so powerful for me. Like, feel it for 90 seconds and then let it go. Forgive
But
yourself.
really feel it. Really feel it.
Oh, yeah. Really feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I read that too. And I was so powerful. Wow. 90 seconds and everything else is just me repeating the story, because when there's an input, there's an uncontrolled physiological response. And
Yeah.
input can be something you see, something you hear, something you touch. It can also be something you think. So somebody says something to you, you get angry about it. And that's real. There was an input, and you can't control the physiological response. It happens. It can change over time. If you practice this pause, you might not have the same physiological response to the same input.
Right.
But you still can't control the response. So when we pause and observe it, it loses its control. If you continue to feel it, it's just because there was a new input, and the new input was you. They did this. It's their fault. They don't care about me. They're mean. They're selfish. Or maybe it's you. You're stupid. You didn't hit record again. So, whatever it is. You had a typo in that email again. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's an additional input that you are creating on your own, and you don't have to create the new input. Now, to be clear, people say, do you have to forgive?
You have to.
So, I would say it depends how you define it, and time and timing can change things. Sometimes you're just not ready, that there's a part of you that needs to feel it more. Now, granted, it only lasts 90 seconds, but give yourself the input so you can feel it more. That's okay. Maybe now is not the day. But I want to share this definition of forgiveness. I didn't make it up.
Okay.
Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different.
Oh.
Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different. So it doesn't mean what the other person did is okay. It doesn't mean what you did is okay either. And it simply recognizes the fact that the past can't be different. So with that definition, and when we replay, we're saying, well, if this hadn't happened 10 years ago, my whole life would be different right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. If that person hadn't done what they did 10 years ago, your life would be different right now. If you had done something differently, if 10 years ago, 5 years ago, yesterday, your life would be different now. It's true. But thinking that it could be different doesn't make it different.
Right.
So we have to give up hope that the past can be different, so that we can start living today. So that's what lets these emotions release from our body. If you treat forgiveness in that respect, then yes, eventually we have to forgive. Maybe not today when it's so raw, but at some point you have to forgive. That includes your mother for passing too early, my parents for divorcing. This came up for me a couple of years ago. Well, my parents were alive. Who knows? Maybe they'll see this. I haven't shared this with them. But I've been practicing forgiveness for a while. And like, there's something nagging at me. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Well, it came to me as, I need to forgive my parents for getting divorced. I didn't even know that was a thing, because I was really young when they got divorced. I actually thought everybody's parents were divorced at one point, just because you kind of think everyone's like you are. My parents are divorced. Everyone's parents are divorced. Then I go to a friend and both parents are there. I'm like, what are both your parents doing here? Like that's not how the world works.
Right.
So yeah, I had to find for forgiveness. I said in the past tense, I am finding forgiveness
Mhm.
for that. Sometimes it's not overnight. If it's
Well, I like what you're saying because you're making me feel as though this forgiveness process is actually part of mindfulness and staying in the present moment, because if we're not analyzing the past, we're not trying to change the past by, oh, how can I think about this enough that it actually changes what happens? It's
yeah,
actually helping you stay in the present moment in a different way.
it is. I would agree. It's a form of mindfulness. It's
Mhm.
accepting the current emotions you're having right now due to what happened. But as you said, well, it happened back then. So there's a new input. You're just repeating it. So what am I feeling right now in this moment, even though it's based on an old story?
Yeah.
So that's mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is observation of the present moment, um, with a childlike curiosity without judgment. I kind of said it in reverse, but observation of the present moment without judgment, with a childlike curiosity. So when you can simply look at your experiences with curiosity, right?
Yeah.
We talk about saboteurs. The inner judge is the biggest of the saboteurs. So how do we replace judgment? Now, it's not that you're not going to judge. You're wired. You're just pre-wired to judge. It's evolutionary. You're not going to not judge.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't want to because it protects you sometimes. It actually protects your life.
Yeah.
That said, sometimes it doesn't make sense to judge every color of every house you go by. Well, I like that house, but that house is ugly. Like it's just
Mhm.
kind of a waste of time. You can replace it with curiosity. So
Mhm.
when my son is going back to that, it's 10 o'clock at night and it's an hour and a half past bedtime, and I don't care. I'm the one that's tired. I'm exhausted. I want to go to bed. And has to do it. Not what he's doing. I don't care what he's doing. I'm just tired and want to go to bed. So I don't have access to all of my faculties. So when I can notice it, I can pause first, notice, and then switch from judgment, stop doing that, to curiosity. Why is he doing that? What's he trying to discover? He's really effing creative.
How old
When
is
it
he?
comes to curiosity, it's incredible because I learned so much. He's way smarter than I am, way more creative than I am, way more talented than I am. So when I can do that, I just learn a ton, and then I learn about him. Well, what are his needs? Why is he really afraid to go to bed?
How old is he, Jonathan?
He'll be 10.
Okay.
Why is he afraid to go to bed? What can I learn about that? How can I help him? How can I help him be less afraid to go to bed? I don't really have an answer to that, but I can try things. I can talk to him about it. Are you just afraid to? There are different ways to then
Yeah.
approach the conversation, or I'll ask, what is the best thing I can do right now? This one doesn't happen as much, but it used to be if he was playing Legos, he couldn't stop until part of it was done. So I could either argue with him for 20 minutes,
Or let
get him to go to bed, or I could sit with him and do the Legos for 20 minutes and then he'd go to bed. So I'd have to go, what do I want to do? Do I want to argue for 20 minutes or just sit for 20 minutes? And I'd tell him, let's sit for 20 minutes. And boom, then he'd be done. Okay, I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
We'd go to bed. So it's that present moment. It's the mindfulness.
Mhm.
It's moving from judgment to curiosity, from judgment to forgiveness to curiosity. And then we can get curious and ask, what's the best thing for me to do right now?
Yeah.
This is the most powerful question you can ever ask. What's my next best action?
Mm. Mhm.
You will always get an answer. 90% of the time, or maybe half of the time, you won't like the answer because it's something that's going to scare you and be difficult. It's not the easy thing.
Mm.
And it's 100% of the time. Well, 99. Let's say 99. Maybe
Yep.
there's, I don't, I try not to be so hyperbolic. But 99% of the time, that is what you should be doing. And you're going to say, no, I'll do that after I do all the stuff. And then you do all the stuff and you didn't get to it. I'll do it tomorrow. You'll beat yourself up before you go to bed for not doing it.
Yeah.
You go through the whole cycle. It's the most powerful question you can ever ask. What is my next best action? And then you got to do it. And when it feels scary, observe the fear. I have a whole 2-hour class, Turn Fear into a Friend, right? So observe the fear and then do it anyway. Courage is the practice of being afraid and taking action anyway. Courage is not being afraid. Practice courage. Courage is a skill. It can be practiced. You get better at it the more you practice.
Yes, you do.
Do the scary stuff. Anyway, I went off on a tangent. I don't even know how we got there.
Well, that's a perfect place to wrap up with a tangible thing for our listeners to go do. Go practice that today. Jonathan, where can everybody get in touch with you and follow your wisdom online?
Yeah, you can find me at selfloverevolution.com. Hit the button that says join the revolution. You can find me in all the regular places, Facebook and Instagram. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, go to selfloverevolution.com. Hit that button that says join the revolution. Would love to have you in our community.
I love it. I'm on it today. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today for this engaging and enlightening conversation with Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you for being here. I appreciate you and our new connection. Look forward to more conversations.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly been a joy.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Unlock Your Way. I hope you found today's discussion inspiring and you're ready to take your business and personal growth to that next level. If you're feeling as fired up as I am and eager to unlock that full potential, I'm here to help you on your journey and provide that personalized guidance tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Simply book a one-on-one coaching call with me and we'll dive deep into your business aspirations and see how we could co-create a roadmap for your success. And whether you're striving to scale an enterprise or just getting started, I'm here to support you every step of the way. To schedule your coaching call, simply visit the website at unlockyourwaywithstk.com, click on the book a call button, and we'll turn your dreams into that reality. Subscribe and review on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Plus, you can join over 800 entrepreneurs in the Idea Lab Facebook group. Let's make success as an entrepreneur happen together. Until next time, I'm STK. Keep dreaming big, stay focused, and most of all, have fun while you're doing it.